Welcome to Band Scamps, an in-depth look at albums and releases by West Michigan artists. Hosted by Dan Fisher and Julio Gomez. This week on Band Scamps, Dan and Julio review Sean's Room and Sean's Room 2 by Captain Daddy and Skinny Dippin' Scorpion by Hollywood Makeout.
Welcome to episode 2 of Band Scamps. It is Thursday, January 28th of the year 2021. My name is Dan Fisher, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Julio Gomez. Hey, Dan, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
We're doing the thing.
We are. Episode 2.
I am super stoked about this one. We have 2 great albums to talk about.
This is like the honeymoon of the podcast period where you do the weekly.
Yeah.
And if you can get past this one, then you're good. It's like, everyone's got that honeymoon period in their relationship.
Right.
So this is our second in 2 weeks, right? Was it Thursday or Friday we taped last week? Saturday?
We did Thursday last time too. So
we did Thursday. We were going to do Wednesday, but we didn't because of Inauguration Day. We wanted to make sure nothing went down.
Exactly. That's actually kind of crazy how that's like a real threat.
That was the actual that was like what we were like maybe worried about was like we should probably watch the inauguration and just make sure. Like, what are we gonna do? We could just run.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of wild that we live in such historical times and we're just here in the comfort of our homes, recording a podcast about Grand Rapids music.
Well, I think it's probably just for everyone's safety if we just stay away from other people and just do this.
That's right.
And we can interact with the West Michigan music scene in this way. And
we are safety.
Yeah, everyone's safety. We're just gonna critique some of the best of West Michigan music. We got a bunch of submissions lined up a couple weeks ago. We put out kind of just called anyone who wanted to have their album reviewed, who put something out in 2020 and who is from West Michigan. I think for right now, Grand Rapids, we might expand to the Lakeshore, Lansing, Kalamazoo. It's a huge state.
Yeah, and then eventually we'll go global. And maybe we'll do some Japanese music, maybe some. Do
you think the best chorus is to jump, just go West Michigan, where you can point out on your hand, just straight to international?
Yeah, we're not dilly-dallying with the states.
I would be into it. We should pick like one Japanese city and only review just one city, or one city in South America, or one in Europe. Anything new in the last week?
I just saw actually Miley Cyrus. She did a Tiny Desk at Home concert, and it looks like she covered Mazzy Star's Fade Into You. Oh, so I'm gonna listen to that today.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
put that on our playlist. We got a playlist on Spotify, an official artist playlist. If you want to hear some songs we picked out, I think we got a Mazzy Star song on there.
We did. I put it on there because I love that song.
Awesome. That was like that Mazzy Star album was like my freshman and sophomore year of college. That was like the Makeout album. Like I swear. I swear. Like anytime that situation came on, someone was like, "Hold on," and put on a Mazzy Star that song. And it happens.
Let me just really set the mood.
Yeah.
That is a good Makeout song.
That happened twice with a band I like, where they put on like 2 different times during Makeout sessions. People put on this album, and I was like, "Huh? What is this?"
Hold on, babe.
Hold on. Tell me about this band.
All right. Well, should we just get started?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. We have 2 records that we're going to be reviewing today. Both these came out in 2020. So far, that's been the criteria. And they are from 2 different artists. And I'm not even sure if these artists are even aware of each other, which is cool. Because the last 2 records we did, which was Oofda by Wicker Basket and No Masters by Brother Wolf, I believe both those guys probably know each other. And it's likely that these 2 don't, which is cool. So the first one we're going to do is what do we got?
It's Sean's Room by Captain Daddy.
Okay. So Sean's Room 1, Sean's Room 2. We're going to be reviewing both of these. These were both released as separate records, I believe.
But I think I don't know how they are related outside of the title.
Yeah, so far all we have right now is a sequential. So we might as well just start from first impressions, right?
Yeah.
If we're going to be treating these as one review, since we're not going to dedicate a whole episode to these 2 different records, and they're both pretty short anyway, so I think that's fair.
Yeah. Just real quick, this album came out December 17, so right at the tail end of 2020.
Okay. All right. I think yeah, right at the end.
Right.
Couple weeks left till the end of the year. But this is going to be a later, had the whole almost year of 2020 to reflect on album.
Exactly.
And that shows, I think.
For sure. Yeah, there a lot of the song titles actually do reference quarantine or the pandemic. So it is topical in that way.
First impressions, we got the title to go off of Sean's Room 1 and 2. It makes me think that these are kind of interconnected, kind of dissimilar. And so that's why they're two different things. Just looking at the track listing, there's not enough tracks on here to make it be too long for one record, right?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, this is all can fit on one. So
Easy.
This is either an aesthetic or a stylistic choice to have it on two different things, or maybe thematic, right? Okay. Sean's Room 1. This starts off with something, pretty. What is it? A piano or something? A guitar? I can't remember what it was.
It's a pretty quiet, like just chill intro.
It is quiet. It is quiet. And I actually listened to this after the next record we're going to talk about. I listened to it right after because I already heard both these albums, but I gave both a refresher last night, and I was actually, this is really quiet compared to something else.
Same. They definitely have that like a DIY, home recording aesthetic.
Did we name the band Captain Daddy?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Yeah, Captain Daddy is the moniker of Tom Hunt. He's a producer, rapper. He's also a comedian. He's also owns a pretty popular meme page. He was one of the main admins. I don't know if I'm outing him too much, but I would brag about it. But he's a person who is probably the sole proprietor, creative vision of this thing. I think he's got some collaborators, as is often presence in what I guess you could classify as hip hop, loosely hip hop music.
Right. He's been on your other podcast, Grand Rhapsody, a couple times.
Yeah, he's become a pretty frequent collaborator of mine. He's one of the people like you and him, and only a handful of people are people I stay in touch with. Like I have maybe like 5 or 6 people that I regularly text and message throughout this whole thing, and he's one of them. So disclosure there, like we're pretty good friends. I mean, at least associates and collaborators. So for those that don't know, it's loosely rap music.
But Sean's Room 1 kind of strays away from that rap vibe, though.
Definitely. It's softer, and it made me turn it up a little bit. It starts off soft, and then a drum beat comes in, a kind of groovy, fast, poppy, really organic sounding drum sound comes in, and more of a, the higher singy rap kind of R&B, kind of emo-y stuff starts happening, and you get a better picture of what Sean Room's going to be, I think, pretty soon into it. Yeah,
right at the second track, it's right into like I feel like this fits into the whole lo-fi chill hip hop like thing that's kind of like popular right now.
Totally. And it is, you can tell the influence is definitely influenced by emo. It's influenced by R&B. It's influenced by, SoundCloud rap stuff, mumble rap, all sorts of shit. Like the influences are clear, and that's really cool. Did it surprise you? Did this song surprise you when you first heard it?
Yeah, it did. I was, I'm a big emo fan, so I was immediately drawn to it just on that kind of like musical level.
And it has some of that like Frank Ocean kind of R&B ish. It has kind of like, what's the one dude? He passed away. White guy.
Mac Miller.
Yeah, kind of that vibe a little bit.
Totally.
Like I said, white guy, and you're like Mac Miller.
Exactly.
White guy who died. You could have said Robin Williams.
Oh my god!
You should like Robin Williams.
I should have just like guessed something like totally wrong.
I keep forgetting that we're not necessarily doing a comedy podcast here. So
yeah, but like I like the comedy elements though.
Go into jokes. Yeah, I really like this genre of music, and it reminds me of a lot of things that I do like, and when I first heard it, it definitely was like, yes, like this kind of surprised me. I think even having to turn it up was even effective because then I was just jamming all of a sudden.
Totally.
So after track one, we kind of go into, I think, was it like 2 instrumental tracks after that one?
All the tracks act like an instrumental track on Sean's Room 1 because the lyrics and vocals are very minimal. They're usually just repeating a line or two.
This one's not even called Sean's Room 1. It's just called Sean's Room.
Okay. Just Sean's Room. It's 100% vibes all the way.
So first track, Still.
Mhm.
Captain Daddy and Clough. So Clough, I'm going to assume is the vocalist on that song. Maybe.
Gotcha.
Or one of them.
It's hard to say who is because they do use autotune a lot as well.
That heavy on autotune, which I really like.
They do it well.
Yeah, they do it well. They do it in a catchy way. They do it in a way that's modern. It's kind of harkening back to a little bit of like, I don't even know, like even some stuff that was popular like in like 2015, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the really heavy autotune, but it's catchy, it's fun. And it goes on and this is all very vibey. You're right. There's a song called Stay at Home Order, and it's kind of a romantic spin on a stay at home order in which you're ordering someone to stay at home with you.
Right. Hope It Rains, the second track, I really vibed with a lot. That's like the more like kind of like emo one, and it's rad.
Oh yeah, track 2. I was saying, yeah, you can see you definitely influences. Track 3 seems really early 2000s to me, like the hip hop vibe on it. It kind of sounds like almost a Common, like a song that might be on a Common track, even like Kanye, like an early Kanye track, maybe.
Totally.
And this is short. What 14 minutes, 15 minutes, about 14:56.
That is a shorty. 7 songs.
That's a short album by anybody's standard. So this is an EP, and I wonder. I have it pulled up on Spotify right now. And
what are the Spotify parameters?
It says album. It's saying album on this.
Really, I'm actually shocked by that.
It's saying album on here. They're all saying albums.
I feel like all our albums that we've put out have not been considered albums by Spotify.
Well, been around is longer than this, and that they consider that an album. So Sean's Room, not Sean's Room 1, album 2020. Yeah, we should look that up and what the parameters are.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So this thing goes on. This is a great lesson, but it's short. And by the time you get to the last track, which is called "Scared to Sleep," I think you're kind of a different sound kind of starts emerging a little bit.
And maybe it's a good segue into Sean's Room too.
Sure, there's a lot of collaginess to this record, and it's
very pretty sounding. You know,
definitely.
It's like.
Definitely. And this vibe kind of builds and builds and builds. And there's a crescendo on a track called Looking Out Across Lake Michigan in Nothing. There's a crescendo and a track that's called Looking Out Across a Lake at Nothing. Can we just have that here? So it's a lot of auto-tune. A lot of auto-tune.
Looking out across a lake at nothing in particular.
I think we can get away with that. The pots aren't going to flag us for that. Here's a sample.
Yeah. Shout out to them right there just for like the vocal harmonies.
That came in loud too, but because I already have my stereo cranked a little bit from the first.
Yeah, it started out loud and then like it just compressed right away and just like.
Yeah. And I don't know if this might be the first time I'm gonna get critical on this record. This record might have benefited from a little bit of like mixing mastering.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it really became apparent, I think, at first. I was like, maybe that's intentional when I had to turn my stereo up. But then this song comes in hot. And I wish it was just a little bit quieter because that took me kind of out of this mood. It's the first time that I kind of snapped into reality and had to be like, oh, I'm playing music right now.
To me, like Sean's Room is a lot of like unfinished ideas in a lot of ways. It's like a beginning of something cool. They catch a vibe, and then
it kind of gets snatched away from you really fast.
Yeah, and that's why that's like one of the main reasons why I wish the two albums were together, because they can work in that way of like transition songs, even like, you know, the kind of like weird skits that like are on old like hip hop records.
Yeah, the whole thing does feel a little bit like a tease,
Yeah.
right? It
Mhm.
almost feels almost like a sampler sometimes.
Right.
Do you think that's intentional?
I I can't figure it out yet.
Okay.
I really feel like it's just they had this idea, they recorded it, and then they just kind of went with it. I think these are just kind of like they didn't fit necessarily in like a normal Captain Daddy record, in their opinion. And so they just released it as Sean's Room.
Yeah, it does have like a bit of like for better or worse to me, it seems a little bit self-conscious, but kind of hiding behind an artistic choice.
Yeah. It's a departure, but at this it does fit them. I'm just gonna go right ahead and say this definitely should have been one record. I think it would have really enhanced the experience, enhanced the flow, and could have added like a really cool like artistic element.
Did
to
you
the
listen? Did you
experience.
listen to these? Did you listen to Sean's Room 1 immediately followed by Sean's Room 2?
Yes.
Okay. I think that, I agree with that, but I'm going to try to like just take some position that like there's a reason it's 2. Okay.
Okay.
It's going to be, I think, like, I don't even like playing devil's advocate, but if we're talking about this, I think I can do this. So
Yeah. What do
let's
you
say
think what's your reasoning? Or what do you
aesthetic.
think they did it? Just aesthetic?
Yeah. A style. I think maybe theme, maybe they felt they were too different,
I
which
mean, they are very different in
totally.
some way, in like a lot of ways, just like by the vibe, by like the actual, just like genre they're trying to tackle.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I feel like they could have, mixed the two together and really
Okay.
created like a cool, like mixtape
Yeah.
vibe.
It's I think we're going to have to come back to this question so often of why isn't this one album, but I'm going to keep saying maintain the position that there's a reason for it. Okay.
Yeah. I think I could have, maybe because it's so short, like if it was like 10 to 16 tracks of just Sean's Room material with that like lo-fi chill vibe,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would be way more accepting of the idea of it being its own thing.
Sure. And I think that the kind of like pastiche, the kind of like mosaic nature of this is really cool, but I think it also like it does give you this like maybe rushed feeling,
Hmm.
like it was hurried, or it maybe they was trying to get out before 2020 ended.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, just like timing wise.
And that's understandable. Like
Yeah. I think I just find myself frustrated just by like that tease
sure.
aspect, like, because they obviously have a lot of like pop influences.
Oh yeah.
And
It's insane.
so,
It's so well, maybe that should give us encouragement that there's more to come, you know.
yeah,
So let's look at those are that's maybe the only negative that I have about this. It's short. It's too short. It
too
probably
short,
could,
and
it probably
you're not able to ride the vibe.
right. And so, but since we're going to talk about this as one thing, listeners, this album review is not over. There's another part. There's Sean's Room 2, and we're going to talk about it immediately after this. Other than that, is there any other criticism? Too short. Maybe it could have been longer. And those are good things. Like we wish we had
Exactly.
more of this, like we're not saying, oh man, it's too short and so we don't care. Like we're going to listen to this. I'm going to
Right.
listen to this.
It's a really good listen. I think
It's
the
great.
actual criticism would be like the production value.
Yeah, I think, and I don't even think it's the production on the artist end. I think it's the kind of
Mhm.
thing where taking this to another studio or producer to tighten it up and maybe master it for you would have been really good, and even timing it out better as a release. I would have I would have waited to put this out until lockdown was over.
Totally. But otherwise, yeah, please check this out. Captain Daddy Sean's Room. It's a vibe.
It's good. It's really good. I think that I would love for like other hip hop artists and rappers to hear this, because even a little bit, I mean, Sean's Room 2, I think every rapper in town needs to hear. But
Yes.
I think that, and I don't mean that lightly. I think every rapper in town needs to hear Sean's Room too, and everyone who likes hip hop needs to hear it. But Sean's Room, I think, is also a really good listen on that extent too. And even there's some good guitar work. There's some good drums.
Really good.
This sounds better than people's electronic music they make in town.
Yes.
It sounds the production level is great. And when you mean production, I think we just mean mixing and mastering and maybe a little just polish
yeah,
it.
it's mainly even just like the mastering. Yeah, just to tighten up and just like add a little body and just so.
And the only reason is it just takes me out of it a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I wish I could just like put it on. I mean, I used to party quite a bit, and like there's nothing worse than having to adjust your equipment while you're vibing. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think that applies to everything. Like I love those musical experiences that you can put on a record and press play and close your eyes, and before you know it, the record's over and you just went on a whole journey. And anytime you have to snap out of that to adjust, it just takes away from it. Calling all West Michigan artists who released any music in 2020, we want to talk about your release. Send us an email at bandscamps@gmail.com. Dan and myself, Julio, want to talk about it. We want to get the word out, and we want to review your music in a way that probably has never been reviewed ever before. Also, if you own a small business that is looking to reach thousands of people per week affordably, we are looking for a sponsor for the rest of the season. Please send us an email at bandscamps@gmail.com. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Band Scamps, episode 2.
We're still doing it.
Yeah, this is, like I said, the honeymoon phase.
Yeah, that's right. Let's
salad.
stretch it out.
These are the salad days.
Right.
What is that?
We're still in the salad bar at Pizza Hut.
This is the salad bar days. They are going to, when people hear salad days, they're going to they get mad. Oh, it's when they had buffets.
Right. That's what I think.
Speaking of buffet, the big buffet news, Ming 10. Did you hear about that?
What happened to Ming 10?
They're closing.
I mean, I haven't been to Ming 10 in a minute.
I don't think they've been open. It's a buffet. What can you do?
Right. That's probably where COVID started.
There's gonna be a serious dirty. It's the hibachi grill that no one ever used. Yeah. One person was like, first of all, one person went up there. They didn't know what to do. So they had to call a guy in. He had coronavirus. That's how it started.
Not at the sushi that's been setting out all day.
They think it started
hibachi.
They think it started in China. It was a Guatemalan guy. it was a Guatemalan guy living in Grand Rapids.
He's like, I got this.
Yeah, They're directing all their fear and hate at the wrong people.
That room was so funny too because it felt like a banquet room.
It was so big, and people had parties there. Like had all sorts of parties there. Like we do wedding recitals or like what?
I would straight up have like a post-COVID party there.
We've saved up, so we haven't in this time of COVID. Cassie and I probably went out to eat like maybe like 7 to 10 times per week. Like realistically ordered food out. We order to go maybe once every month now. So it's crazy. I was like, once restaurants open up, I'm gonna splurge so hard at a place. Like my bill is gonna be like $1,000. And it's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah.
I can't.
I just realized how much money just went to like the service industry, which is fine, but like just at the bar, like both my partner and I we're in the service industry, and we realize that like we're collecting unemployment, and the only reason that we're saving up money is because we're not going to restaurants. So it's just like, really, that's a whole wild thing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's one thing we were talking about is maybe getting into food criticism or something. I don't know. I'm not. Oh, that'd be great.
There's no real food criticism in Grand Rapids either. So anyway, as far as criticism goes, our purpose here is to critique records, and we are continuing with our review and critique of Sean's Room and Sean's Room 2 by Captain Daddy. And we have said what we have to say about Sean's Room, and we are ready to talk about Sean's Room 2.
I'm super ready.
Kick it off.
Just first impressions. Sean's Room 2 is fantastic. It's a great hip hop record.
Your first impression was this is fantastic.
Yeah, I was. Okay. I was like,
but you didn't hear the whole thing. How did you know? How'd you know it was fantastic?
Because I just instantly I knew it was like the kind of hip hop like I'm drawn to.
Okay, yeah, for sure. This kicks off. it's got a little bit of a build up, and then immediately the track is great. Well, we gotta, I think hip hop, talking about hip hop is so much different than talking about rock and roll or electronic music or folk or every genre. It kind of has their thing. And I think it's important we should talk about this as though we're talking about hip hop records. This is undeniably hip hop music at this point. Sean's Room, I think, is a little bit debatable as far as what genre it is, like intrinsically, but I think this one is definitely hip hop, right?
Yes.
So
there's no arguing that it's a hip hop record.
okay, so Captain Daddy made the beat, as far as I know. I think he made the beat and all this stuff. So the track is great. The track is really cool, really weird. And then lyrical content, there's more of that high auto-tuney kind of voice. Reminds me somewhat of Clouded. It reminds me of like somewhat like Eminem kind of. I don't know. It's all
kind
over
of,
the place.
yeah.
And these lyrics are straight up bonkers, conspiracy theory nonsense. But you know, we're talking about, there's some conspiracies and they're all obviously nutso. But tying in with, you know, the Sean's Room with the stay-at-home order and, you know, obviously some other things. This might be allusion to Q.
Okay.
Did you get that at all in this?
I didn't.
Okay.
But that's just me though.
Okay. So context is important. You know, I think that a lot of what we're talking about in this podcast is albums that came out in 2020. And I think I just like couldn't help but think about that, because there's at one point talks about it's called Milk Narf, right? Is that the name of the song?
Yeah.
And he says like Benjamin Franklin's name spelled wrong and backwards is Milk Narf,
which is such a great lyric,
right?
Already.
So that right now, I mean, that harkens to like some MF Doom, or harkens to like the Cool Keith's work with Dr. Octagon and, you know, the Analog Brothers. And he's just, you know, this is really Cool Keith to me. It reminds me a lot of even the Hellhole Store out of Philadelphia. Some more kind of just abstract rap.
Yeah.
And
or the coup.
It kind of hits you hard too, because the first album is kind of feely, kind of sentimental, and now we have abstraction, right?
Absolutely. Speaking of context too, just like again by Tom and Gang's like comedy background and their previous music, I was kind of going in expecting a more comedic album and was really surprised just by listening to this, by just like the absurdity and it didn't come off as a comedy album. This was like straight up like a hip hop record.
I think that like comedy has a lot to do with a lot of different art forms. And I think that, you know, I feel like a lot of like musicians want to be comedians, you know, like I think you and I are attracted to comedy.
Absolutely.
Even, and we dabble, and we don't have any authority in it, but we love to riff, you know? And I think that comedians sometimes like to be musicians, you know? I think that dancers sometimes wish they were painters, you know, or whatever. I think that poets wish they could be photographers, you know? I don't know, like, because it's all kind of what you do, but you do your own medium.
Yeah.
And so do you think they intended to make it funny?
I don't think so. I think it's just kind of, they naturally are drawn to kind of like absurdist lyrics and like kind of funny themes, but it leans more, I guess, on that satirical end, that absurdist end. And I think it's a really good marriage of like kind of the comedic aspect and musicality.
Let's go back to track one. I had a tangent because I brought up Q, you know, and
right.
Like it made me think of that because it's absurdist, right? He goes off about aliens and something was the remains of Roswell and blah, blah, blah. Then it goes off about Benjamin Franklin's last name or something, last name spelled wrong is Nilknarf. And he says Nilknarf over and over again. And so my mind, because of associations, and this might just be the point of what this song is trying to make, is that my own brain free associated this whole string of non sequiturs and conspiracies into the whole Q phenomenon, which if you're listening 20 years from now or don't know about it, is this big online phenomenon of misinformation that people bought into, that was essentially a LARP, a live action role play done on the internet, tricking people who didn't have critical thinking skills into believing ridiculous nonsense. i.e. the stuff being spouted in the song. So I right away went to Q, but maybe that's just me looking into a conspiracy theory too, right?
Right. And
That's something that I'd be interested to talk to Captain Daddy about the meaning of that song, but that's what I got from it.
totally.
And you said you didn't. So what did you think of
I think
or did you even get a meaning?
I didn't really even get a meeting. I think my downfall with like music criticism is that I'm not necessarily a lyrics guy, which is insane to like try to like judge a rap album.
Okay, I think you're going to tell our listeners what do you mean by you're not a lyrics guy? Like
So
you don't like lyrics, or you don't pay attention to them, or
I don't necessarily
it's not what you focus on.
It's not what I focus on when I listen to music, and yeah, like they just don't stand out to me as much as like the musical aspect of it. Like the actual lyrical content. I'm obviously like listening to the words, but
right.
I'm not necessarily trying to find meaning. I'm more interested in how they're fitting in melodically or rhythmically.
And you're able to overlook. Well, that's me assuming. Would you say you're able to overlook lyrics that, or you don't even notice them? I'm not sure what I'm trying to phrase.
Yeah, it's like, so when people like put out music and they're like, I can't understand what they're saying, or I can't, that doesn't bother me.
That doesn't bother me either. Like I'm okay with abstraction. I'm okay with grunts. I'm okay with made up language. I'm okay with foreign language or inaudible.
Yes, absolutely, same here.
But what if the lyrics are like straight up garbage? That won't bother you that much, or you have a higher threshold?
I have a higher threshold, and like if they are absolutely garbage, they do like pop out to me.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of music to me that is like that will be like, oh, like I love this, but I hate I think Chili Peppers are maybe like there's like I actually think I have love for that band, but there's sometimes when Anthony Kiedis goes off, or like I feel embarrassed. Or like I look around to like make sure no one's watching me. Yeah. But this didn't strike you in that way though. You're just like, well,
no, not necessarily. There were like some lyrics that popped out, like again, just like the Benjamin Franklin spelled backwards, Noak Narf. Like that's strange and like unusual to like. That's a cool concept. It just like. It was a cool theme and it just like stuck out to me. But if I'm going to like intentionally listen to lyrics, I got to have like a lyric sheet in front of me.
Okay. And that's something that I wonder is available for this recording. Maybe. I know that like
it is not. I checked on the Bandcamp and it is
awesome
not.
That's good that you check for that kind of shit. I definitely do not check for that kind of crap.
Yeah. So it's like my nerd level.
So right away, this is much different than Sean's Room. But
2. I think Sean's Room, some like musical themes do carry over.
Definitely. You can tell it's the same artist.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next track, I just have written, this is good. That's all I wrote. Like, do you have any notes for that one too? Anything that's like more? I maybe need to stay away from 3-letter.
I think, one of the guest artists on this one is Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
Which is like just the most absurd name. And like borderline triggering.
Is it like Bay? Is it Bay like BAE?
Yes, it is. And then Sean is with a money sign.
Okay, that's good.
Guantanamo Bay.
I just have written, this is good. And like, honestly, I don't even know if I can tell you what is going on, but it's give this a listen, everybody. Like it's on Spotify. Yeah. Woke Up Dope. That's what it is. Yep. And it's a bragger. It's a brag. It's full of really funny hip hop brags. I think that Sean's Room 2, what it does well when it gets braggadocious and absurd is it really pushes the absurdity and it pushes the level of wordplay, and it makes you laugh. It makes you think. It makes you feel good. Like I think, even though like it's just like, it's silly. This song, I think it's silly, but this is like a big convention of hip hop and rap music is the non-specific brag.
Yeah.
Like the I'm fucking awesome brag.
The ego brag.
This record does it really well. And in a really
100%.
absurd way. It's not afraid to make fun of itself, which is I think is so refreshing. So much rap and hip hop, man. The people who make that music have no sense of humor about themselves whatsoever.
It's infuriating.
And they're all like the most absurd comic book characters of people, and you can't do anything about it. And I like honestly, like the whole I don't want to go off on a tristes on hip hop, but one of the things about hip hop is you can never critique it without rapping your critique. Like, like you can't, like they'll be like, well, let's hear you rap then, like,
Yeah.
you can't be like, I think that you were bad at rapping, because the answer is always, well, let's hear you rap then. And then some guy will make a beat and you're in a circle all of a sudden and you have to rap against some guy. And I don't think that's the way that I can approach that music.
Rap is so like, it's such a talent to be able to rap well.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. And I think that these guys do that. So what I'm saying though is that the big brag is what this song is, and it's just so funny. And these are comedian dudes, so they try to think of funny things on purpose. I think
it just comes naturally to them, just because that's just how they talk. That's just kind of the comedy that they are drawn to.
Me specifically, but our band has often gotten, oh, it's funny, we get laughs, like. And that was something that when I first started playing music, I did not set out to do. Like it 100% kind of hurt my feelings when it happened.
Oh, dang.
Like it didn't hurt my feelings, but I remember like my first couple shows that I went out and played in front of people by myself with a guitar were just like open mic things, And basically, I tried singing quiet and pretty, like I did in my bedroom, so no one could hear me when I was practicing. And that didn't work because I wasn't loud enough. So then I tried singing louder, and people paid attention. And then people paid attention, then laughed. And they weren't laughing like at me. They were like, "Woo, that's funny shit, dude."
Right. I think that has something to do with just like how, like you have a lot of like wordplay, but in a opposite of that, like you have a lot of like matter of factness, and I think that is, kind of not shocking, but it's not necessarily like what a lot of people drive to when they listen to music. They're
Right.
thinking more artistically, more metaphorically, and when
laughter
you're
is like laughter is an involuntary reaction, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think about laughter. The other day I was laughing at I like woke up laughing so hard that I like about thinking about something, or I was reading something that it woke my partner up, and I was like crying, and it wasn't even that funny, but it just made me laugh so hard I couldn't stop thinking about it. So she had to know, obviously.
Right.
It's involuntary.
Yeah.
I think that this album really, really plays off that sense of involuntary reaction to itself.
Yeah, even like with like the microphones or Mount Erie, like Phil Elverum's like lyrical style is so just observational and just saying exactly what he sees and feels. And it's like absolutely devastating, but it is like funny because it's so just like awkward in a way to like just like there's a song that he is like singing about like playing at a festival and hanging out with like Father John Misty, and just like singing the name Father John Misty is like hysterical. But he's like talking about like grieving his dead wife. Moving on to the next song after Woke Up Dope comes the track Bossy. And I really like this one, just on a musical aspect, specifically just that this kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about Sean's Room, about the collage.
Okay, this is the one that I was thinking of. That was the collage one. So yeah, this is really cool. This kind of starts off. It's got a real sample of what is a little violin or something, or a flute or something. It's hard to tell. This one reminds me of an early 2000s hip hop kind of thing too.
It's definitely that MF Doom,
and it's got an interchange. It's got an interchange between kind of a classic. I don't know, man. It's got like a Chicago early 2000s hip hop vibe to me, but then it kind of comes into a more emotive and modern, heavy, blown out, hectic feel. And it kind of goes back and forth between the two feels the whole track. This one's fun. I'd love to hear some vocals over this one too.
Me too.
I think any I said that I think any rapper, hip hop person in this town or in general should listen to this record, and I think that you guys should try to collaborate with Captain Daddy too. This is. I think it's impressive.
I think they are really, yeah, like really impressive with their beat making and sampling.
Mm-hmm. I'll say so. I think anything else you want to say about that track?
Mm-mm.
Okay. The next one, this track Daddy Juice, I think is my favorite track on the record. It's like the hit as far as I'm concerned.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think
it's good though still.
Yeah, I think it has like as far as like it's not my favorite. Oh, it's not like, well, I guess that is my favorite. It's not, I don't know if it's like the best song, but I think it's the one that's like the most poppy hit. And it's just, this is more of that, I think, taken more from Sean's Room. More of the kind of R&B vibe is now coming back in.
Let me listen to it real quick. Just like,
go ahead.
Get quick. Yeah, that one is really good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not my favorite, but it is really good. My favorite is the next one.
I feel like the really, that one is really good too. The whoever Clough is, I think, is the first person, is the voice that kicks off Sean's Room.
Mm-hmm.
This that I'm gonna put you in a toe lock. That guy.
Yeah, this one definitely has the more like,
or
Drake.
that might be Captain Daddy too. I actually don't know, and I think that ambiguity is either going to be a limitation of the digital thing. That's just kind of how it is sometimes. With featured artists, you just kind of put their name on there,
right? Yeah, I don't think I've necessarily like pinned down like the Captain Daddy style, just because they are so like versatile too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm not honestly not even sure to what extent they rap. I don't think I've ever asked. And disclosure, I received some of these recordings I've heard. I think half of this were sent to me over the course of the pandemic, and they're all good. Like there's not a whole lot of feedback I can give to somebody at that point when they're this good.
Yeah. And it's just not my realm of expertise to really like be able to offer any.
I think it is. But I think if someone actually asked you, if I was like to you, like, hey, here's a record I did, I want really critical, whatever your expertise on this, you'd give it to me.
Yeah, I think maybe more in like the context of like the scene. I'm not, I only know my like kind of rock and indie scene, like crowd wise, but like I think I can comment on it as a musician, but I don't know. I don't think I have like any like authority over it as like, I'm not a hip hop musician,
So Perp is the next one. Let me listen to this one real quick. Okay, Perp's all over the place too.
Perp is weird and I love it. It's like kind of like spooky.
It's spooky. It's loud. This all sounds really, the production, like his track making and beat making is really, really, really strong. And I think does really shine on this track too.
Yeah. It's got a really good flow. It's a memorable beat. It's got like, a lot of these have like repeating like themes or choruses even, which I enjoy. These next few tracks they're just tough, and I really like. It was they kind of like transitioned into these kind of like more like from like a Drakey kind of like vibe, and then into like a more like mean like teeth gritting vibe.
There's attitude. Yeah, this one, both Perp and the subsequent track Bad Witch, which is about D&D tropes and magic and this and that. But it's like wizard rap, right? Like pretty much. These are all, the next three pretty much are pretty heavy. Yeah,
it ends pretty heavy.
Let me write it out real quick and just hear this one. They're both instrumentals. Both Write It Out and I believe Follow Your Dreams and Stay Asleep.
Yeah.
Both instrumentals, or at least really heavy.
Yeah, heavy instrumental.
I don't know if Follow Your Dreams and Stay Asleep has any vocals, but I do know that I wrote down that it harkens back to Sean's One.
Yes.
I think that after all said and done and hearing this last track, how much it harkens back to Sean's Room 1. I'm just going to say Sean's Room 1 for the sake of this, because even that makes it like it should have just been called Sean's Room. Like, and it makes me think maybe this should have just been one record.
Yeah,
there's enough content here for it to be one record.
Easy.
Do you think it's cohesive enough to be one record?
I do.
Me too.
You mean listen, like Frank Ocean's Blonde, like that's like all over the place. And like that's like I feel like they could have combined those two and gotten a very cool, similar vibe, a very like a dream like state at times.
I could see like, a reissue or a physical copy of this coming out on vinyl and it comes out on one disc.
Mhm.
I would buy that, or a tape or something or whatever.
Totally.
And I don't think that even if we perceive that as a mistake or whatever, the only reason we perceive it to be a mistake is because of how strong both actually are.
Hmm.
If it was like something like 2 was way better than 1 or 1 was way better than 2, I would be like, yeah, make them 2 different records.
Right. I think out of the two, Sean's Room 2 is like it feels more like a complete thought.
Same.
And
If you
like
had to
the
pick,
reason why I want these to be one record is solely because I think they're both good, and I think that it could just really like elevate the experience of listening to Captain Daddy.
they are both really good. Yeah, they could make it even. It could be even better if it was one thing, because I don't think it takes away from it being one thing. But I don't think it's like a bad decision or a wrong decision per se. It's just, that's my
Yeah.
take on it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it makes me like, the only thing that I worry about is like, was it split up into 2 because of insecurity, or is there a real reason? Like, is it split up into 2 because of insecurity over stylistic variation, or is it split up into 2 because of a deliberate decision made as an artist?
That's the question that we as a listener really have to
And that's probably the biggest question of this album, right?
Yeah.
And like, taking that away, it's an amazing listen. I recommend it.
Yes, please listen to Sean's Room 2.
I recommend both of them. Sean's Room 2, Sean's Room 1. If you had to pick one, what would you pick?
Sean's Room 2.
Me too. If you have to just get rid of one, it'd be Sean's Room 1. I would get rid of. Yep.
Same. It's just all hip hop fans need to listen to Sean's Room 2.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think some of the wordplay is incredible. I think Captain Daddy is an artist that I believe in. He's someone that I came across really recently. He's a really recent new friend of mine. We collaborate, and I'm a fan. All aside.
Last thing I'll say about Sean's Room 2 is from the song Bad Witch. Just the lyric that really stood out to me that I loved was, I don't know if it's Captain Daddy, if it's someone else, but it's, I'm a flirt with your throat. That's a neck romance. And I love that. I think that's a really good lyric.
There's a lot of goodies like that. And I think that, this whole crew or Captain Daddy himself are well positioned to do more and more cool stuff. So I'm not really so disappointed about this being 2 records, because what a little blip of a criticism, like,
yeah,
he can make more songs. They can make more music and more of everything. And I look forward to what else comes out of these guys.
Yeah. And actually, I have one more thing to talk about in terms of like Captain Daddy as like a group or just as an artist.
Sure.
Is that like, with like the comedy background and having it be like, having like really funny lyrics and absurdist lyrics, like I think why I'm so drawn to these records is not because of the execution of the lyric content, which is really good, but like they are so good at emulating their influences and drawing from them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really sets them apart from like other people who would try to incorporate like comedy music, is that they rely too much on one side, either like the content or the music.
It's like heavily stylized.
Yeah, and like, but they do it so
heavily colored and flavored by their influences.
Yeah,
they do it really well. I think that's an astute observation.
Yeah, like, and that's why I think like The Lonely Island is so popular, because they know like the tropes and themes that make those songs good or popular. You're right.
I think another a popular comedy band I like right now, I don't know if they're popular, but one contemporary one is the Sloppy Boys, like the dudes from the Birthday Boys. They nail these concepts and ideas in rock and roll or musically. They have a song that starts off and it sounds like Cranberries' Dreams, and they're trying to make it sound like that, and it's so fucking funny because you're like, that's the stupidest idea to connect with these lyrics, because the lyrics are all goofy and you're like, oh, they're doing dreams right now. Are you serious?
Yeah. But yeah, like if you do the music right and you have like a good idea, like that's you've created like a really sellable and listenable like product, and that's really hard to do.
It's very listenable, and I think that it's highly recommend. All criticisms aside, I think this is a breakout all-star little record here.
Yeah, I will give it
they should be proud of it.
4.5 Mario Kart banana peels.
I'm gonna give it a big vinyl picnic basket, and all the handles work, but the lock's missing. Like there's a lock on it, but that got broke off a long time ago.
Dang! Congratulations, Captain Daddy.
Congratulations, Captain Daddy. I think that's what those are outstanding reviews.
Yeah.
Shall we take a quick break and come back to our next record?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Very different.
Yeah, this is a nice long episode, so stick around. We got more coming to you.
Hello, all West Michigan artists. If you have any music that you released in 2020, the Bandscamps want to talk about it. We'll give your music the critical and in-depth listen and review that it deserves. Submit your music to bandscamps@gmail.com. Let us help you spread the word about your music. Also, if you have a product or small business that wants to reach thousands of people weekly, we are looking for sponsors. Inquire at bandscamps@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the show.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Bandscamps episode 2.
We're here. We just talked about Sean's Room by Captain Daddy. And Sean's Room 2, excuse me.
Sean's Room and Sean's Room 2. And we're going to move right ahead. This is a longer episode. We're going to move right ahead into our next review.
This is by the band Hollywood Makeout, and it's their third record called Skinny Dipping Scorpion.
This is number 3, right?
Yeah.
You said 3?
Yeah, this is like the completion of their like Crittery Crawlers trilogy.
Yeah, I noticed that it has a similar kind of title. Do you think that's an intentional thing?
Yes, I think that's an intentional thing.
And we listeners, this is the Grand Rapids again and again.
Yeah.
Another band we know. And I like this band too. You know, I'm going to say, I know this band. I like this band. We've played shows with this band. We've asked this band to open up for us. So this is a band that we, you know,
we have a close relationship with them.
And I mean, I don't know how close I am I think you are closer to them than I am. But I have been friendly with them forever, and great people, and a band that I like as well. A band that has inspired me to a certain extent as well.
Yeah. And I think we have like a really unique opportunity here because we've witnessed the band from the very beginning grow.
That's true. I remember this band when they were just a 3-piece and there was 2 guitar players.
Yeah. Yeah. The original lineup played the Little Village EP release.
Which one?
Stonehouse.
Oh yeah, you're right. The last EP that that you guys put out. Far out.
Our last show.
So let's jump right into this one. This is
first impressions.
You think it's an intentional third trilogy? First impressions are it's got another cartoon on the cover.
It's got another cartoon on the cover. This time there's no bathing suit.
Do you know who does the art?
This time it was Nate Jonovan who did the art.
It's different people.
The second time it was Trevor Edmonds, and I think the first drawing was by Cedric.
Okay. Interesting. The art's all pretty similar. It's all cartoons of kind of creepy crawly critters. It's called Skinny Dipping Scorpion, and it goes right in. So I mean, let's jump right in. I guess I have notes for this. I listened to this 2 times. I actually waited to listen to it until recently, and you probably have better history about. Let's maybe start first things first. Release date
January 1st of 2021.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so I'm gonna allow it.
Yeah,
the criteria. I think New Year's Day has a lot more to do with the year before than the current year.
Yeah, it's like the first day of class where you just go over the syllabus. It doesn't really count.
And I think that they probably releases are intentional. They intended to release it right on New Year's Day. I think I remember waking up after New Year's Eve and seeing that it was available. And I was actually too hungover to listen to it the day that it came out. I would have probably, but we were both pretty hungover from New Year's Eve, so we didn't end up.
Respect though that you wanted to be in good health to listen to.
I mean,
your friend's record.
I'd love to attribute it to me being like considerate, but I think it had more to do with my hangover than it did to like not give me a fair shot. Like I want to be like, oh yeah, I'm totally. I want to, but I really do. I like to give people. I even tell people like if I haven't heard your stuff, I'll tell you. I've like done that before. Like, hey, by the way, I haven't listened to your music yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That means a lot.
Is that
as
weird?
A musician? No.
Okay. I do it pretty often.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, by the way, I haven't listened to that yet. So if you sent me if I left you on red, it's because I haven't listened yet.
Yeah, you're truthful in that way.
So going right into this record, January 1st. Did you listen to it day of?
So I actually heard it before it came out, but I did listen to it.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah. But I did listen to it a couple times this week, and I actually drew some different opinions these most recent listens.
Do you think your opinion changed between the pre-release listen and the post-release listen?
Yes.
Was
absolutely.
This record self-produced?
It was recorded by Tommy at Goon Lagoon.
Okay. Was this recorded like during 2020? Do you know?
The last of the recording happened in January 2020.
Wow. Okay. Crazy. So this is 100% pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So that's great. That's good to know. So far, this is the first one that has been recorded at a recording studio, a professional recording studio.
Speedo Spider was also recorded at Goon Lagoon as well.
No, I mean I'm sorry. This is the first Band Scamps reviewed record that has been recorded at a recording studio, like a for-hire recording studio.
Yeah, this is the most like professional production.
Like I'm pretty sure Ufto was recorded probably just
at home.
Yeah, Brother Wolf did theirs at their home studio.
Wolf Den.
I'm pretty sure Captain Daddy did this at his house, and then probably the nature of it maybe collaborative over sent files.
Maybe in Sean's room.
Maybe we should. Maybe I don't know.
Who's to say?
I don't know who Sean is.
Exactly. Shantanamo Bay.
Maybe that's another. Do you think it's about Sean? You think Sean is Shantanamo Bay?
That's my guess.
Okay.
That's my conspiracy theory.
Maybe we're gonna have a fallback. Listeners, if you have any questions, comments, any inside info on these records, please send any comments or anything to bandscamps@gmail.com.
We are still accepting submissions. So please tell your friends who are in bands that have released records in 2020 during the pandemic.
We have maybe a couple handfuls of bands lined up, but we will get to yours. We're going to review everything. If you want to have your album reviewed, please contact us at bandscamps@gmail.com.
We're on the internet.
Oh yeah. So
all right.
This getting that out of the way. This is the first one that was recorded at a studio, and it was done technically safely because there was no real knowledge of the pandemic. I think I became aware of it in mid-December or early December of last year.
Same. Yeah, like I heard about it, didn't know much about it in December of 2019. 2020 rolled around. I think trails of it started to make its way to the US. I kind of, I was just like, I didn't understand that it was a big deal.
I became pretty acutely aware of it pretty soon. Our last show that we had was about a year ago as of this taping date. Mm-hmm. So whatever this taping date is today. Today is January 28th. I think our last show was 29th. January 29th of last year. So even then, we were acutely aware of it. The band that we played with, Brother Adams, dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Remember? They dropped because one of the guys got sick.
I wonder if he got COVID.
I wonder too, and I think they wonder too. And I think they dropped out of precaution, which God bless them. They dropped out of precaution. Here's something that's crazy. So Justin Stover, Stovepipe. So Justin Stover filled in, and that was a great show. But one of the guys from Brother Adams, and I'm gonna bleep this, I can't get their names right. One of the guys from Brother Adams came up to me and like stuck his hand out to shake my hand, and I like didn't put my hand out because of the coronavirus.
Wow.
And I remember being a little bit on edge.
I wasn't there yet. I foolish didn't understand the severity of it
Man,
at the
I
time.
was on edge, and there was like not very many people came to our show, and I think it was because of the uncertainty of that show. I didn't shake a dude's hand who's been nothing but cool to me, you know, who came to see us, even though his band dropped because I was
Right.
I remember going out, they had those sculptures outside, and we were like went outside to smoke a joint, and I remember like being like, there could be coronavirus all over all this crap.
Dang.
So this stuff was recorded at probably before this time last year. It had to be right, January or something. Okay.
Yeah, I think they were just doing finishing touches, like adding some vocals.
When did you first hear it?
I heard it summer of 2020.
Okay. So it's been out, and did you hear it in its completed form?
I did, but it was over like a Bluetooth speaker.
So you did hear it in its completed form?
Yes.
Was this all, do you know, mixed and mastered at the same source, or did they go away for mastering?
I believe Tommy also did the mastering.
All of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So far everything's been digital. Is there a physical release of this?
No, there's just
digital
the digital release.
Okay, cool.
But speaking digital on a different end, this album is unique in the way that it was recorded to tape.
100. Okay, it was all tape.
It's all
like 1 inch or 2 inch or something.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
like the Goon Lagoon is an analog recording studio.
Do they only do tape?
Yeah, I believe.
Okay, so the last one was tape. The last one, I mean, this is pretty much recorded by the same methods as their last record.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, right away, jumping in, I have improvements written down.
I agree.
I
Like
think
in what way?
Sonically. Now, contextually, I guess that doesn't matter if you don't know their catalog, but right away, I know their music and I know the records and I listen to them, but I think that sonically, I think it sounds better. I think it's a better recording. So right away, I kind of feel optimistic about this record. As soon as it comes in, I'm kind of like, okay, this sounds like that band, but they're doing a better job of capturing what they sound like.
Yes, I agree on even more specific level. Like the drums, I felt sounded really good.
Like really, in what way?
I thought the last record that they sounded a little trashy for my taste, and I thought they were like a little tighter, a little more dry.
Like the tone and the recording of them, you like the way they're recorded. Are you talking about the performance or just the recording?
The recording.
Performance, you don't. Okay.
Performance wise, I think people don't realize how much the drummer adds to this band.
Okay. I have some drum notes too, and they're later down. I didn't even get to the drums until like on track 4 here. I have the drums are soft, but he plays like that.
Yeah, he does play softer. But
the drummer Tim, he's not like some drummers are big muscle dudes who just beat the ever living fuck out of their drums, you know.
And he's more finesse.
Yeah, he's way more. Well, I guess I don't know. I don't mean like the track from. I feel like you could like no, like what he says. So it's easier to argue with just one person than to argue with like a whole room of people. Even that's who's going to be listening to me talk.
Right.
I don't know. I can't really critique to his drumming. It's fine, but it's really not my style of rock drumming. You know,
that's why I like it. I think he's like the secret weapon because like it is so unique, and sometimes it is like very, like unrhythmic in some way. You know, you're like, man, I can't really catch the groove here, but like I love that.
See, that doesn't sound like a compliment to me though.
To me, it's just
sounds like I don't.
That's like that's a poor way. I think it's just every time
you could do another take at it if you want.
No, I want that's
okay.
There's never a time where he's playing and And that I envision like the beat, and it's never that.
No, I think he's a solid drummer for it. He's fine. I think
writes
he fits the
interesting
band.
parts.
He fits the band. I never looked at it that way, but that's good.
Yeah, I think that like if it was a more traditional drummer, the songs would not stick out as much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I have written down for the drums is like it's the drums are soft, but he plays like that. And like I was saying, like he's not like this drummer of this band is not one of those drummers that's like gonna take his shirt off and he's just ripped as hell and he's gonna beat the drums and break a head. Like I can't imagine him like breaking a drum head or breaking a stick.
I can't even imagine him
Or
breaking
like
anything.
he's just not one of those like meathead drummer dudes,
No, he's actually the exact opposite.
Yeah, and like I guess like I would love to see like that kind of drummer with this band, but that's all I have written down is the drums are good. I think the guitars sound good. I mean, sonically, I think I get in my notes into sonic stuff later. I have like improvements, and it's sort of the same though, and the lyrics sort of say so.
Yeah,
right? Aren't the lyrics of track one or like? She says something about being better off, and I think we should talking about vocalist here. The vocalist here is just incredible, and the vocals sound really upfront too, and that's something that in the improvements I have are something
same. They really made sure that like her voice is the star of the show, which it is, and they made sure of it in the recording. Like she is like up front, and she just Erin has just an incredible voice.
Yeah, vocalist Erin Leno of Hollywood Makeout is one of the strongest vocalists in the city, I would say, and probably one of the more revered and there's charm about her that is really unmistakable, and I think that people are really drawn to it. And a lot of people like this band a lot. And I think one thing that I noticed about the improvements of this is I love hearing her voice up front right away. And I think we talked about this on episode 1 with Brother Wolf. I love vocals,
Yeah.
I mix my shit way high, my vocals up high, for better or worse. I was even listening to this today. I put it on my phone and put it on quiet, and it was like awesome how loud the vocals were.
Let's staying on the same thought of vocals though. I have a critique actually.
Sure, and go ahead. We're still on track 1 here. Do you want to? Is this a track 1 relevant critique? Do you think or no?
No, it's a whole album critique.
Let's do it. Let's go ahead. Let's do you want to? Yeah, let's do it. We're on vocals.
There's like a sonic choice that they make with like the sound. I don't know if it's like the microphone or it's a mixing thing, but like Erin's voice is recorded in a very specific way where it makes it feel like I am kind of like listening through like a telephone at times.
There is a bit of distortion that is added to her voice that is not transparent at all.
No, it's very like I'm listening to this and I'm like, there's an effect on the voice.
I wish I could take it off.
Yeah, it was actually really distracting for me.
I know what they're going for. Yeah. And I think you're right. And I think I feel bad because if there's anyone I think it's one of those things too where you don't notice it right away. I even pointed out to my partner while we were listening to it and they didn't notice it. And then they're like, yep. Right. And this might also be, I didn't really notice it as bad through my phone.
No, but that's already kind of like doing its phone thing.
One thing with adding distortion, it happens with our music too. I always want to have a little bit of that, but it always sounds like you can hear it.
Right. It's like this almost like too analog-y, like tape distortion.
Yeah, it just sounded to me like there was a layer of fuzz added on top of it, and they're not blended together.
It made me feel like I like when the vocals are on top especially with a strong vocalist, but it made it seem like she is not part of the band. Like there's the band playing
just over it,
and then there's the overdub of like this vocal.
Interesting. I think that's probably the only critique I have with her vocals, and I think that's just a thing that is maybe a mixing thing that maybe is a result of the same person having their hand in all 3 parts of it. I don't like having to be the only person that mixes and masters my stuff.
No,
I don't
a
trust
rabbit
it.
hole. Yeah.
I don't trust it. I don't trust Matt to do all of it. Usually, Matt mastered our last thing only because it was rushed and because honestly, I don't think this is going to be much different. But in retrospect, maybe I wish we had someone else master it. You know,
Yeah, it's
our
definitely
next project
worth
is
to
going to
have.
have we're going to have someone mix it and someone else master it. And I just has it's good to have more ears on it.
Yeah, and to have people who have different opinions and tastes too, to kind of take you out of your comfort zone.
This record is this the first record of theirs with all four members?
No, Tim was on the
He was on the last one
second.
too.
Yeah, and I think he
Tim
actually
Warren
did appear on the first one a little bit.
as a guest.
Yeah. Um.
And Tim and Aaron played in a band together, and that's the connection there. They were in Tokyo Morose together. Great band,
Great band.
And Aaron is no stranger to the scene here, and there is a lot of like I think when this record comes in, a lot of confidence is kind of showing more in her skin, but maybe like some hesitance about that.
I think it's
Let's go on to track 2. What is it?
Vulnerability. I think she has really embraced lyrically vulnerability, talking about, things that she's really going through in a more like present time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you think these songs were probably written in the previous year or so, or maybe some old ones?
Yeah.
So none of this stuff is really about 2020.
No.
Because this is all pre-2020.
Yes. But to me, this is like their most like grown up record.
Sure. Moving on, track 2, I have written, I'm sort of sick of this scale. And this was a hard sentence for me to write because I know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And like, I like it because of that. I like it because I know what they're doing and what they're doing. I like,
yeah,
but there's just a very specific scale that's happening. That's like, yeah, like, yeah, So what now?
For me, I was able to get over that just because of like the vocal cadence and rhythm. I like the repeating of the what is the lyric? Overwhelmed.
This is the track BFFS.
Yeah.
What do you think that means? Best friends forever?
Stupid.
Right? Like,
sexy.
Like keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Best friends forever, stupid. Yeah, the lyrics of this, I really like that I can really, really hear them. They kind of throw me for a loop, though. There's some, I feel like, and this is just, I'm going to start critiquing it as like a writing person. It takes me in a few ways where I'm like, that's not the word I would have used.
Interesting.
And that part of that might be like, oh, I don't really know like where she's coming from, like as a writer, what it is, what the like context is. But there's some things, even rhyming schemes, where I'm a little like it kind of throws me out of it a little bit.
I know what you mean. I think, yeah, I don't know. Aaron
Maybe,
is just
and
like
that might just be me trying to find her abstraction or her style. And really, realistically, I don't know her lyrical style well enough. She writes the lyrics.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like I don't know her style well enough to really know like, oh, that's typical of her, because that does happen too. People have their own idiosyncrasies. And furthermore, like idiosyncrasies, bands are built around it. Like idiosyncrasies and things that sound the same or sound a certain way are reasons that bands sound a certain way. And the reason why you like things,
Exactly.
Like the reason I like this band is because of how they sound. So do I want this to sound different or not? Or am I actually satisfied with the fact that, wow, you have a sound? How many bands would kill for a sound?
That's a tough question. Yeah.
Like this band undoubtedly has a sound.
Yes. And I think this is a perfect example of natural growth of the sound from the last record and then from the first record. They are getting more bold with their choices, I think. Not so much with the second track. I think this is more on par with what they sound like. But there are some later tracks I think they kind of are exploring new ideas.
Yeah,
and
I think so too.
Really enjoy that.
Right.
even
I don't.
much to my chagrin
I don't think we're there yet. You know, I want to maybe because we're going through. I mean, I know what you. I think there is. There's just like I think I have so much more to say about this specifically than the previous record we just did. So it's like it's hard for me to jump ahead too hard. You know?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
A little bit, yeah.
But I don't mean to interrupt your thought. I want you to say what you're say again. But I want to that. Will you say it again? Just 1 second. I got a little lost.
I think that this record is a perfect example of a band growing their sound and adding on to it and trying new things. And sometimes I'll listen to a record and I'll be like, this is great. This is the sound I love. And then the next record will come out by that band and it's totally different and I'll hate it. But I can never, like really put down a record that by a band that's trying something new, because every band should do that.
Do you think this record is them trying something new?
I think it's them maybe not really trying something new, but trying not to create the same record.
Really?
Yeah. I think that they're trying to expand on what their strengths are and then adding some different elements.
I didn't get that interpretation listening to it. It sounds like, to me, it sounds like a lot of the same. And I guess if we're going to jump into like overall, I one of the things I have written is, most of the things I have written is that this is like more of the same. If we're going to get about how different this is, there's a lot of things that are similar in the songwriting, the scales, some of her fifth, major fifth to major third interval that she uses constant. Almost every song has that interval.
I think that they suffer from a thing that the Little Village suffered from, was having big endings on every song.
Yeah, I have that too. I have that. There's a lot of extra stuff on here that I'm not moved by. Like I said, these songs are about 1 minute too long. I'm not moved by the extra stuff.
The songs that I really enjoyed are the ones that either really encapsulated like their sound, or the ones that were completely different from what so the ones that are in between kind of
I don't think anything on here is completely different from what they do.
I feel
like which one do you think, if you have specifics?
The one, Check You Later.
Okay, that one is good. That one's nice. That one's got some overdubs.
That's like the ballady one, but again, it goes to like the kind of weird, like that one dancey.
That one
ending.
Deviates. Yeah, that one has a song that it's pretty good, and then at the end, like there's just like some like, what do I have it written on here. We're skipping like 5. We'll go back to these songs, but since we're talking about this song, I have like the vocals. I don't think the vocals are that cool, but people will probably like this.
I like it.
So yeah, and I said yucky bass out of nowhere sort of kills it. Like there's kind of a dancey part that's, I don't know. It doesn't move me. It's not for the style of music it's trying to make. It's not good. I really wish it didn't exist. I
just sometimes would wish, like with that like song specifically, that they would have just let it be like a slow, pretty song. I
was even like, I listened to this before we met today. I listened to it last night and then today. And today I found myself like being like, oh, I think she stopped singing now, so I'm gonna skip the song. And I probably did that to every song. The last minute I just skipped. Went boop, go to the next one. And that actually felt better. I'd love to hear an edit that was that. Even on track 7 here, I have written question mark. That last song sort of killed it for me. Okay, never mind, it's fine. I'd accuse them of ripping themselves off if they weren't them.
Is that the sign chorus pulsati?
I'm not sure. It was kind of jarring. Like I like when this band is good, they're so good, and then when they go off on these tangents, it's like I don't even know. And then I start wondering. I'm like, man, how many takes did they do to get this like, kind of unlistenable stuff right? And it's not unlistenable. It's not so bad. It's not the good parts.
Here's, I think, what's going on with the band is I think that they're at a crossroads right now stylistically. Okay. I think that they know how to write songs as a band the really strongly now, and so they're beginning to explore their size in a way.
Yeah,
They're
sure.
they're writing big songs.
They're probably hitting their stride. They're 4-piece. They all get
Mhm.
along really well.
Yeah.
If it were up to me, I couldn't decide. I couldn't tell you what their band dynamics were just by looking at a lot of bands. You can tell, like, oh, these two
Right.
are buddies and these two are buddies, and they just all hang out.
But at the same time, they are writing like fun, beachy surf rock.
Is this album fun?
So that's the thing, is like, I don't think this album is pretty serious to me.
Yeah.
It's upbeat musically, but like lyrically and maybe dynamically even, it's pretty serious.
So we kind of jumped ahead here, and I think that's actually kind of speaking to my point that it took up until maybe track 6 to get something that was like, okay, now this is more unique. So let's go back to some of the earlier tracks that we kind of skipped over, because I have some stuff written down here. And I love this genre that they make. I love this kind of garagey, kind of surfy. I love female vocals. I love punk. I love, and Erin's been great since her earlier bands. This is all really, really good stuff.
Yeah, it's a great record. But our role here is to take a piece of music.
So you're saying it's a great record?
I think it is a great record.
Okay.
Yeah,
I disagree. I would say it's pretty good.
I think
what holds me back is just more of the same. I think that what holds me back is, and I kind of want to wait until the end, so I'll just say that it's just kind of the same to me. And I have written here, I love the genre, but everyone has idiosyncratic things. I have an idiosyncratic thing. That's what makes you like things. But at some point, it kind of becomes more of the same. And it's like the Strokes. The Strokes made their first album, and it was sick. And they made album 2, and it was sort of similar, and everyone like hated it. I remember I was like a sophomore or junior in college when that second one came out, and people were just angry.
Which is like crazy, because I loved it when it came out.
It's a good record. Yeah, it's totally good. But the fans didn't like it. The people who liked the Strokes didn't like that record at the time when it came out. The critics didn't like it. It was more of the same. And then what do? They go and make their third album sound a little different. And everyone's like, what are you doing? When
you say more of the same, are you talking just about in the catalog or just the one record?
Man, I almost think these songs sound similar to songs they've already put out.
So that's an important point, is though, like, so we are, focusing on records. Yeah. Context is important. So in context, so maybe more the same, but what about just
without context? Well, I have to pretend I haven't heard their earlier stuff, which is going to be impossible. Like, I can tune out that I know the individual members of this band, and I can tune out my own relationship, but I can't ignore that I know what this band sounds like. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's a decent listening experience. I don't think I would listen to this over their other records. And with that knowledge, I have to say that like it's just not doing it for me. It doesn't make it great. But that I think what the more interesting question is, like, should something sound different? And I don't think it needs to.
No, I don't think so either.
And
if you have mastered a craft or something, like, you should, like committing to mastering something, knowing that, you can't, that's not possible.
I think that it's the kind of thing where it's like when it's more of the same, but it's amazing, versus more of the same and it's like, okay, I'm trying to think of an example of that where like someone puts out a record and it's like, oh, it's more of the same and it's just sick, and it's more of the same and it's bad, because that does happen.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, I'm some might come to mind, or I might
I'm trying to think of an example of like more of the same that was like a really good thing.
I think the first few Ramones albums are kind of like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like more of the same, but it's like, oh yeah, that's good. All those are good, even up into like Road to Ruin, and then after that, it gets a little bit like formulaic in a bad way.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, Weezer Green Album versus Maladroit, like Weezer Green Album is very Weezery, but every guitar solo sounds like the bridge is this and that, but then
just
Maladroit
emulating the vocal melody.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I don't think that they failed here, but like there's literally like that fifth to third interval that Aaron does all the time. There's a name for that interval that I'm not even going to name because I feel like it's derogatory. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And so it's like that's a thing where when the conventions of songwriting that you're using become so familiar, you almost become a cartoon of yourself. And I think that's incredibly fitting for the cover art.
Totally.
You know, like have they become cartoons of themselves?
That's like the battle I find with them, because again, it goes like this is the connecting thing between Captain Daddy and Hollywood Makeout.
Sure, perfect.
Is that they both are like really into comedy. Like Aaron and said, like they are on stage, especially they really embrace like the comedic entertainment aspect.
They're great. I have a great time. There's still things that they have said like to me or around me that make me laugh to this day. Like I think I can think about. So yeah, they're both funny, but I don't think this album is as fun or funny as their previous work.
Same.
I think the last one was a bit of a turning point anyway.
Yeah. I
don't think it ever was all that funny, any of it, you know?
No. I think this to me, like this record is like the equivalent of kind of similar road that Best Coast has kind of taken. Best Coast started off as like this kind of like super garagey, almost lo-fi, like surf indie. And as time grew on and as they got more popular, they were able to utilize better resources. I mean, even Best Coast's second record was produced by John Bryan. And with Best Coast, it's kind of taken a more serious route.
Yeah, I think serious stuff is kind of inevitable, and it's definitely fitting. I think the vibe is actually much more fitting than if it was fun. Like I don't think it needs to be fun, and I think it's good that it's not, because 2020 wasn't a fun year.
Exactly.
And, I remember when lockdown first happened, we were still seeing commercials that were from the earlier cycle. So there was so many commercials that were like, go out, get some good clothes, look good, strut yourself at the bar. And it was like, we're hanging at home with sweatpants. And so, but they had to use these ads, you know? And so it's actually good that this record is more fitting of the time, you know, like just
for sure
that kind of party, have fun, beachy vibe. We're not doing that right now. And so I think that's some good foresight there, which is really cool. I have written here too that her vocals versus her skill in her earlier work is apparent. Like the vocal stuff is really nice on this record.
She's really pushed.
Aside from that distortion or overdrive that we don't like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Aside from that, we're pretty impressed there. Going back to 6, we like that song. 7, I think, lost me. And now I have a note here about like style and about like, you know, I don't mean to get caught up on it, but this record sounds so much of more of the same to me that it did hang me up a little bit. And I wrote this note here. I said this band should keep doing this sound until they get noticed, or maybe give us something more interesting next time.
I am on the latter for that. I think like the next record, I am really looking forward to, or hoping that they kind of take a different direction.
Yeah. It's hard. It's also hard to be experimental in a studio. I don't know what Tommy charges. I'm sure it's more than we pay for recording.
Yes.
You know, and I'm not convinced that what he puts out is all that much better than what we're able to record on either. So I know it's expensive, and I know that you don't have the time to be like, let's do some stupid crap. But they still found a lot of time to do stupid crap at the end of their songs. So I don't know. Like
that could just be like a stylistic element, you know, or
it could just be that I don't like it and I'm wrong, you know.
Yeah,
it seems there's so many on this last listen. I gave it, every song was like 2.5 minutes, and then it went into 1 minute of something else, and so it was like, so every time I was like skip. I mean, this band has a sound. They have character. Like bands would kill to have a sound. Like, yes, this rips pretty hard. Track 9 is pretty good. I have 9. Yes, this rips. You know,
I like the 8, Foolish.
Okay,
I really like that one. I think that's the most like complete sounding song in a lot of ways, and it reminds me of the previous record the most.
That was one that was the one that I wrote on here. I wrote this band has a sound.
Yeah.
And I think that one sounded, I think, too much like an old sound that I even went back and I found which song it was, and I don't like that.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know. And maybe it's just me wanting more. Maybe I just wanted more out of this album, but this album doesn't have to be that to me,
Exactly. The interesting thing that we're doing is that we are taking records that so far we've known the band on some sort of personal level. Outside of this podcast, my role as like a musician to other musicians is largely supportive. Like I am trying to gas my friends up. I want to support their art. And I generally do like Hollywood Makeout a lot as a band. But my role here as a podcaster and as a band scamp.
Yeah, and we are scamps.
We are scamps.
Yeah, and
it's to
that's just the reality.
And is to take a more closer and critical look at music and art.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe at times, yes, I'm looking for stuff to criticize, but it's not even like a lot of, I think where criticism goes awry is that they become statements, but really in a lot of ways, criticism is more just questions.
Yeah. And that is criticism,
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, people have asked and philosophical questions of what is this? What is that? And you boil it down to just the question of what? And that's often all we're trying to figure out is the what of everything.
Exactly. And like, why do I think this? What does it matter?
Yeah. I think, overall reception of this record was warm and well received. This was probably, it was kind of a surprise one. And I think as far as the online presence of it was people were like, yeah, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
I think the release of it was timed interesting.
Mm-hmm. I think like overall, like if I were to like pick a Hollywood Makeout record, I would choose the second record to listen to.
Yeah, me too. Or one or two. I think this one I would put on, but I don't think I would listen to this. I think if I was still working at a place that had music on, I would put it on as like a dining music.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way. Like it fills that.
And like I said, good music.
It sounded really good, quiet.
Yeah. They capture energy. There is sonically, there's a lot of really good elements.
I love Aaron's voice. There was a couple. Let me go through the couple notes that I want to just more critiques. There's a couple, like everything really blends in really good. The guitars, even the drums.
Mm-hmm.
I said like he plays soft, but that's how he plays. It sounds soft, but he plays soft. Mm-hmm. The bass fits in. There's sometimes where the guitar sounds like, to me, like you can tell this was overdubbed. You can tell, and when I listen to music, I often have like an inner space kind of picture of what's going on. And the guitar just seemed way off in a different building,
okay.
Like I could picture a guy wearing headphones in a different room, with like padding, just recording the little guitar part, and like the reverb was wrong or something about it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think they were really trying to go.
That I have like an aversion to reverb.
Yeah,
like I have like an instinctual, like it makes me, and I like music with reverb, but I'm so fucking picky about it. So take that with a grain of salt. But that was
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I also like as I've learning to record too, I'm finding that like less is more with reverb.
Oh man, and it's always like I'm always like put reverb and then take it away until you can't hear it, and then give it a little bit. But I don't know. I not like my ears are like perfect anyway. But that's what it made me feel.
Yeah, I felt like that there was that element too of like the reverb not matching. I appreciate them trying to, get some clarity with their music. Like the direction is
they're trying to expand. They were expanding on some genres. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The intent, I think the intent is correct.
Yes.
The execution, I think, is really lacking. And I think that I would love it if these songs, I would like it more if the songs were shorter, stripped of the nonsense. And then I wouldn't care if it sounded the same, because I'd be like, this fucking record's crazy. It's like 2-minute songs and every song's a banger. And it's just,
right.
By the time track 4 comes on, you're like shaking your buddy by his shoulders, like screaming the lyrics in his
Yeah.
face, you know. And every time it feels like it's like we come up, and then there's just like, oh, and then okay, the song's over. Good.
And maybe that's like hard with having a vocalist who's so strong, is like you just have that like urge almost to like build up,
right,
as the voice builds up.
Like objectively, they should let her do her thing and have it be all about that. Like,
yeah,
like objectively, I don't care what the second guitar player does, and I don't really care how good of a guitar player does. I don't care what the bassist is doing. They should just be playing the root notes and have it be all about the vocals. But it's hard to even like our band is like that, where it's like, oh, I want to give you something to do. But even we know sometimes like I can probably play that bass part faster than I can teach you it.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And you might as well just have it be what we want it to sound like rather than have it be who plays what. Right.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. I just want to serve the song. Yeah,
exactly. If we can program robots to make the music for us, we will.
Honestly, that's the best
they can make
part.
it sound how we want it to. So maybe that's where this record, it's sounding all the same. Why it becomes negative, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't sound enough the same or is extra that I don't really want in it.
Right. So they have their sound and they just maybe didn't take the next step, or they didn't go far enough for like new ideas. Is that what you're saying? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe like I was saying, they should either like this. I was saying that like if hearing this band should either keep doing this until like they get their song in a movie or a commercial, or they have a hit, or someone remixes it and it's like a standout amazing thing, or it gets placed somewhere.
Yeah,
keep doing this sound, or tour it once you can. We can't tour now. Or next record, give us something totally different.
Yeah,
give us something that's really gonna blow my mind, because this doesn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And they don't have to. But,
they don't have to.
But then what role? Like what role are they going to occupy in my brain otherwise?
Exactly.
And that's what's hard.
You know, that kind of segues into like a larger question I wanted to talk about, just as like a closer. So I don't know if you have more notes about this record before.
I think on this one I'm good. We should compare the two though. I think I'm pretty much. But yeah, let's try to close out Skinny Dipping Scorpion here.
Skinny Dipping Scorpion, I like overall. I think it's a good record, but it's not. Yeah, it's not blowing us away.
And I feel the same way. And I don't think I was expecting to be blown away, but because I feel like I have pretty high standards for Erin's work, because she has blown me away. I know that she is very, very strong, and that maybe I was expecting a little bit more, just based on like, oh, I actually didn't even realize they were working on something new per se.
Gotcha. Yeah.
The production sounds better than it's a solid improvement. And I thought it sounded good, quiet. And that's what I really liked. What I just worry about, like this band becoming a cartoon of themselves. You know,
right? Kind of like Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that the Flanderization, like Flanders, like Ned Flanders. You know, like I don't want them to be all about, to become so much about one thing that's all they're about. And at this point, Weird Al could parody one of their songs. Like, you know, how Weird Al makes some of those original songs that sound kind of like Trigger Happy, sounds kind of like Beach Boys. Weird Al could make an original song that we know is a Hollywood Makeout.
Captain Daddy could make a Hollywood Makeout song.
Exactly.
Right. Because they have the sound. So
I worry about them becoming a cartoon of themselves. And I worry about that. And I wonder like how much is that prophetic in their album art.
The trilogy's over. There's no more bathing suit to take off.
Maybe it's important for me to look at that as a whole, and that's cool too. This is all, but we don't know as of right now. This is just a thing. Maybe in the next release, we're gonna know better what this band actually sounds like as a whole.
Yeah, and to that extent too, like I am gonna continue following this band.
Sure, me too. And I think that, like, do you recommend this record?
I do. This is like a commercially friendly record.
Definitely. I think it is. I think that it definitely sounds good. Even like, I listened to it on very small speakers quietly, and I was like, this sounds great. It would sound good. Honestly, it would sound good over speakers at a store or something.
Yeah. Or if you're just like, chill in the house and you don't have your Bluetooth speaker ran out of batteries, just put it on your phone and it's going to sound great.
Like unfortunately, I don't know if I was going to, this band got brought up and someone was like, oh, I've never heard them. I don't think I would recommend this record to them, but maybe I would recommend a song off it. And I do think there's a lot of improvement vocally over her previous work, but I don't know if I would recommend something here as a standout track in their catalog.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that doesn't mean that it's not good, but
right.
Will you listen to this again?
I won't jump to it as like, if I'm going to put out Hollywood Makeout, this is not the one I would put on.
Same. Okay. So I think that's
yeah.
And there's a lot of things on here that we really like. And I think that hopefully if the band listens to this episode, they know where we're coming from with this.
Yeah.
And like really the negative stuff is just, it's just extra stuff they threw in for no reason.
Yeah. And it's
like, there's nothing about it outside of like, you guys are starting to write songs that sound like your old songs, like I think I would accuse them of ripping them off if they weren't them.
Sure.
But that's good.
Yeah. That's band scamps and criticism in general. It's biased.
We're gonna go we're gonna go hard. And I mean it's biased, but you're searching for a bit of objectivity or seeking objectivity if you can. And maybe we got there today.
But
yeah. Anything else to say about this record specifically on its own?
No, I would just say, no, I don't have anything.
Yeah. So and we're both kind of on the fence about recommendation of it as a whole.
Yeah.
So, but that's not, whatever.
Yeah. So here's my question though, overall, just as like music criticism generally, and we don't have to get into it today, but I want to like kind of pose this question. Maybe we revisit it for next episode.
Yeah, let's do it. Next episode, we're going to probably tape within a week. I mean, I'm down to tape as many times per week as you can.
So my battle with music in general is that, and art in general, is that there is art as like kind of this abstract thing, but it's also like a product as well,
right? And
to really, so
art exists in a marketplace,
right? And so it's really, I find it really difficult sometimes because I want to judge the art, but it's really impossible to judge it outside of its like purpose in like society, like,
well, we have to take all that in consideration. That's why we can't,
right?
None of this is going to exist in a vacuum. Nothing does.
So say with this record or like any kind of record that's like commercially friendly, we're judging it on like sonic values or creative choices, but at the same time, it's like it's so sellable, so like it's so successful in that way.
Sure.
Is that judging the art or is it judging something else?
I don't know
about
I think this band is highly sellable. I think this band with a little work could sell a crazy amount of merch with just a little bit of dedication to that.
Right.
And whatever, or marketability, it's totally marketable. 100%.
So that's like the fun kind of aspect for me with,
and you can qualitative like be like, this is, I have that. I say like, I don't like this, but I like, this is not that cool, but people will like this. Like that's a kind of a stupid statement, but it's right. It's true,
right.
And I don't have to like anything, but I understand why people like stuff,
Exactly. Yes.
I like things because of me,
right.
I'm not in Hollywood Makeout. I don't have to live with their artistic choices the rest of my life.
Right.
Like that's not my burden.
That's like the why when you do like music, it's so awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like you're like, I'm choosing this and like it's enhancing my life.
And that we can have fellowship over their music in this way is cool, and that they can interact too, and they might love it or hate it. I don't know. But do you think that, okay, another question that we asked we need to ask about Captain Daddy too. Do you think that Hollywood Makeout accomplished what they seeked out to accomplish?
what they seeked out to accomplish.
Yeah, like artists are always like
Yeah.
they're always like searching or reaching for something.
Hmm.
Do you think that Hollywood Makeout got there with what they were reaching for?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think again, like the direction and like the intentions were there, but I think it maybe fell short a little bit.
I think that I honestly think that those extra parts in the end of the songs were parts that like they were built into the endings. You know, they're like,
Yeah.
let's just okay, we're gonna do this. Like maybe the songs weren't written entirely because we've done this. Like the
Mhm.
song's not written. We're gonna play this part. I'm gonna sing chorus, verse, chorus. I'll write these lyrics later. What do we do new? I don't know, some crazy part. And then you do this crazy
Exactly.
part, and then it ends, and then you're like, okay, now we gotta fill this crazy part with
Yeah.
something even equally crazy or wacky. And
Yeah.
really, you're like, I don't even like that, but you had to keep adding to it. Like none of those parts are like, now that's a part, you know?
Right. It's
Like they're not prog enough to be like really cool, but they're not like poppy enough to be pop.
and maybe it's like they're just trying to like capture. They're like too reliant on that like energy, the live energy.
Oh,
you know,
maybe.
they're like thinking in context of a lot. A live show
Uh-huh.
versus like a record.
Right. Like those are maybe those are cool parts to add to the end of your songs live, but on the
Mhm.
record, it just seems to be boom, 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 and then just do
Yeah,
it. That's something
exactly.
that, yeah. And it just felt like familiar. That predicament feels familiar to me.
Yeah, totally.
And like I empathize with it, so that's good. So I don't think they quite got there either. I think some of it
Mhm.
does, but I think that
Yeah.
maybe a little more time. I don't know why they released it when they did. I think they could have waited.
Okay, so let's go to Captain Daddy with Sean's Room and Sean's Room 2.
Do we think that he got there? Yeah, I think kind of. I think
yeah.
he kind of got there. I think he actually got. I think it's actually better than he thinks it is. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's
Especially Sean's Room 2. Like I think it got somewhere that he wasn't expecting.
I think so too, and I think that if he had more confidence about this music, it would all be one record.
Oh, and it would be incredible, I think.
Well, there's always reissues, you know. So
Yeah.
I think that Captain Daddy sort of got there. I think that maybe his expectations were set too low for it, and so he did get there, but where he should have gotten was higher, but because of his own expectations, his results were stymied.
Yeah.
Stymied.
Stymied. I like that.
I think it's the word stymied. That's how you can tell if someone's only ever seen a word written, is if they don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. Yeah, Stymie.
Uh-huh.
Dan Stymie.
What else? Let's compare the two. Which one did you like better?
I think I would go back to listen to Sean's Room before Skinny Dip and Scorpion.
Me too. Would you
Sean's Room 2, excuse
Sean's
me.
Room 2. Would you listen to Sean's Room 1 over Skinny Dipping Scorpion?
No, I would listen to Skinny Dip
Okay.
and Scorpion.
So that's our order.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that goes more to like with Hollywood Makeout, like more of the same thing. Is like I know that it is like that's the sound Hollywood Makeout makes.
Mhm.
But with like Sean's Room 2, it's really it's a ride.
It is right. It's great. It'd be great. There's if you are making any hip hop mixtapes or weird music mixtapes or electronic music, there's some goodies on there for your mixtape for your special someone, your buddy or whatever. There's some goodies on there. I think for Sean's Room 1, it's kind of a throwaway to me compared to Sean's Room 2, and I would keep track 1 is awesome. Track 1 is really, really good.
Mhm.
I would probably, if I made my own mix, I would put track 1 from Sean's Room over to Sean's Room 2, and that would be the whole record. Would be track 1 of Sean's Room, and then the rest of Sean's Room 2.
I would if I had to choose. I think they could just combine them and like intersplice those ideas.
Would you
really cool.
would you recommend both these records or just one of them?
I would really just recommend Sean's Room 2.
Same.
Yeah.
I would be like, listen to that, and they'd be like, oh, there's a Sean's Room, and I'd be like, yeah, listen to it. Go ahead. It's like, it might not be your one, but you listen to it if you're into it.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that we got to get to, or?
I don't think so. Just remember bandscamps@gmail.com. Send us your submissions for review.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
This has been a Grand Rhapsody production. Executive produced by Dan Fisher and Julio Gomez.